Alright, so here we have a 1994 GMC Suburban. What we're going to be doing today is front brake hoses. As you can see, it's pretty cracked up. These are pretty worn out. Alright, so we're going to start off by first loosening the hold down. So I have two 11mm bolts and nut heads right here. Alright, so we got that one broke free. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do, before I take the bottom bolt off that holds to the caliper, I don't want to lose all kinds of fluid. So I know the hose is already damaged. I'm going to, there's two different ways. This is one type of, I guess you call it, some kind of hose clamp to stop the fluid, and this will be another kind. Okay, so this one's going to be the one we're going to use. So what I'm going to do is just clip it on here and tighten it down. So what that's going to do is keep the fluid from flowing out of the master cylinder. Once I loosen this, we're just trying to not lose that much fluid. All right, so go ahead and loosen our caliper bolt. Alright, so we want to make sure that we get our two washers off. So one washer stayed on the caliper. Alright, because we want to replace these little copper crush washers. See, they already have like a groove in them, so we can't reuse them. What we're going to do is go ahead and we're going to start by putting our new hose on down here, so our last connection will be here. Same thing, we won't lose that much fluid. Now what I'm going to do is also, I'm going to push the caliper back and kind of, so all the trash in the system ends up in the caliper. So if that hose was breaking off on the inside, all that trash is going to end up in the caliper. So I'm going to go ahead and push the caliper, all the fluid out, so that there will be no fluid in there. All right, so. All right, so here we are on the passenger side now, so we're going to go ahead and change this hose. We'll start with our hold down first. All right, so it was a pretty tight little spot between the frame and the upper control arm, so I just kind of used my vice grip with the socket to get up under there. I'm going to push my caliper back to get rid of all the fluid in the caliper. My new brake line from Auto Parts Direct to You. My new washers. And they are labeled with an R and an L on the other side, just in case you got them mixed up. I just always like to kind of place them where they should be before I put them up. All right, so now we have all our lines on. We're going to go ahead and do a gravity bleed. So we push the caliper back so it doesn't hold much fluid. We just want to blade the lines out. I'm going to go ahead and open up both of my bleeders, then lower the car down a little bit. Make sure that I have enough fluid in it. You don't want to let your master cylinder run dry. All right, so we'll go ahead and loosen up both of our bleeders. Go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. All right, so I have both of my bleeders open. They're pretty loose. I have the master cylinder cap off with it full. All right, so now we're just going to give it a few minutes, and we should be dripping out of our bleeder valves here in just a few minutes. Oh, there we go. There's, see the bubbling? Nope, both sides at the exact same time, huh? Let me get my tool. All right, so now we have our bleeder dripping. I'm going to go ahead and tighten it up. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten the other side up too. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go, remember I have the cap off. I'm gonna put the cap back on. I'm going to lightly push the pedal, and I'm gonna try to fill the void back up in the caliper with some light, just very light pedal pressure, very slow pedal. All right, so after 4 or 5 pumps, we finally filled it back up. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put more fluid in the master cylinder, top it up, because we used about half of the fluid that was in there. All right, so now that I have topped off, I'm gonna go ahead and open the bleeder again. All right, so we just pushed out all the air, ended up in the caliper. All right, so we're going to go ahead and open the other side up the same way. All right, so all the bubbles came out. Now we have a solid stream again. I'm going to go ahead and tighten it back up. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to the other side. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put the cap back on. This would be if you had 2 people, you know, you can go ahead and bleed the brakes. Somebody goes in, gives it some a light pump, and then on the second or third light pump holds it down to the floor. Then you come out here and open the bleeder, and that's kind of, you know, forcing it through to bleed it out. I'm going to do the same thing that we just did all over again. I'm going to put the cap on. I'm going to do the pedal myself. I'm going to come back out here, and I'm going to and check it. Let it self-gravity bleed. This is kind of a one-man bleeding, so either way you want to do it, this is a way. All right, so just a couple little air bubbles came out, real small. All right, I'll go ahead and tighten it up now. All right, so we're all ready to put the tires on and take it for a test drive and see what kind of pedal we have.